This is a bit of an ongoing concept on the channel. It all started with if Naruto were reborn. That one was so well received that someone asked us to do Sasuke as well. And the more I stewed on it, the more I realized that we shouldn't limit ourselves to just one or two more characters. I started getting concepts for if Obito were reborn with all of his memories and powers. Kakashi, Obito, Itachi, we have so many possible stories we can tell from just this concept. It's like a whole other world has been opened up to me. So feel free to give us more ideas, but for now, let's try a new concept. Let's imagine a world where all of Team 7 was reborn with all of their memories and powers. Because of how this is going to work though, I do need to set a few ground rules for it, and that being, since Kakashi will also be involved, I want to leave some room open to make a story for him down the line. We're just gonna have all of Team 7 come to consciousness at the same time, that being just before they join Team 7. Now with that all sorted out, let's continue, shall we? Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you are subscribed, and with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Naruto woke up one morning. The sun was shining, birds were chirping. It was a perfect day in Konoha. Naruto could hardly enjoy it because he'd been working so hard. Honestly, Naruto had always wanted to become Hokage, but perhaps he underestimated how much work it would be. He began to understand why Tsunade and Kakashi refused to pass the title down to him until after he had spent some time as an instructor in the academy. He had to work on his discipline because they knew he would need it. That being said, Naruto had always been the type to run toward a challenge. Sure, maybe he'd complain about it, but when there was no other way, he ran headlong into it to give his maximum. And he supposed that maybe he had not gotten out of that mind frame, even after becoming Hokage, because now he was working too hard. He barely had enough time for his family these days. His daughter missed him, his son resented him, and his wife was working almost as hard as he to keep their household together. Despite how horribly tuckered out he was, he turned over, ready to start the day. Today was the day he had agreed with Shikamaru would be the official start of a vacation. More like a staycation. He was going to remain home all day for the whole week to work on his family bonds, to help celebrate his son's birthday, and to make up for missing his daughters. That whole shadow clone fiasco, he would never live it down. But today was the day he was going to do it. But he needed Hinata once again. She was the glue at this moment. And though Naruto could take a vacation whenever he wanted, she couldn't. He admired that about her. At times, it seemed like she was the most important person in the village compared to himself. While his policies may have determined laws, regulations, relief funds, and peace treaties, it was Hinata who kept Naruto on the straight and narrow, and in times of national crisis, she was the entire village's mother. Not too far from what Biwako had been in the past, Kushina or Mito as well. She was everything to him. She was everything to the village. Sometimes Naruto didn't get a chance to think about that, but he was thinking about it right now. Today. The reason being that he had finally opened his eyes and she wasn't there. The first thoughts in his head were questions as to why she wasn't there. Where was she? Then he realized when looking at himself that he was in a younger form. A form in which he had never been married, hadn't even become a genin. It was the oddest feeling in the world that came over Naruto. It wasn't confusion, it wasn't worry, it was confirmation. It was a massive I told you so on a cosmic scale. He had taken his time for granted, his family for granted, and now it was gone. He didn't know where he was. Perhaps it was the intuition of a father, but he just sorta knew that Himawari and Boruto no longer existed. It had been a long time since Naruto had cried. The entire village was happy, smiling and enjoying their day, and Naruto, well, he was enraged. As he cried, he heard a voice within him. "Naruto, what's wrong? You're upset." "Kurama," he asked. "You still remember us?" Kurama was confused by this. "Yeah? Why wouldn't I?" Naruto began to think about it. It wasn't just that Naruto had traveled back for this. His body had been pulled back in time, but his spirit was working on a higher dimension, it seemed. Either that, or while his body was returned to the past, his soul was not. A smile formed on his face for a second, knowing that he wasn't alone. But that was until his heart shattered again, remembering everything. "Kurama, they're gone." "Who's gone?" Kurama asked. "They are. Hinata, Himawari, Boruto, they're all gone." Kurama tapped into Naruto's senses to look around and questioned himself if this were a genjutsu. "No, if it were genjutsu, it would be hard to cast on us. We're separate and we could release each other." Kurama continued to look around before investigating Naruto as a whole. "You weren't always this small, were you?" Naruto looked down. "I think this is my childhood body." Kurama continued to look around. There's only 4 faces on the Hokage rock. Is this some kind of time travel? Your guess is as good as mine, Naruto said. As Kurama sat there, he thought about everything. It seems I traveled back in time as well. Don't forget, I existed at this time too. If you had simply rewound time, I would have just still been hateful. This means I traveled with you, Kurama said. Naruto thought about it. It was as if they had reached the same conclusion at the same time. Do you think others traveled back with us? Kurama thought about it. I can't be sure, but the best way to find out is to probe. The place for us to go is the academy. If it's true, then others will have surely met there. Earlier that day, Sasuke awakened in his bed too, but the moment he did, he knew something wasn't right. The phantom pains he was so used to were now gone and replaced with the feeling of a left arm moving and contracting its muscles without pain. It was something Sasuke had grown accustomed to, not having a left arm. So much so that he had to relearn some of his past skills, including writing. Sasuke was right-handed now because he didn't really have a choice, and now that his left hand was back, he didn't really intend for this to change. He had just grown accustomed to utilizing only his right hand, so having a left again was strange. He moved it around just fine, but all in all it was awkward. And the appearance of his Rinnegan in his left eye told him that he hadn't really lost anything that he had before. As he thought about this and the meaning behind it, he would suddenly get a telephone call. Sasuke would walk to the phone and answer. Sasuke? Came the voice of a dainty girl. Sakura, he asked. Yeah, it's me. I just wanted to ask you, has anything strange happened to you this morning? Anything at all? Sasuke looked down. You mean the sudden reappearance of my left arm? And the fact that the numbers on my clothes tags are many times smaller than they had been before? Sakura could be heard letting out an audible sigh. So I'm not going crazy, she said. What's going on? Sasuke asked. I don't know, Sakura said, but it's strange because my calendar's year is set 20 years before what it should be. Sasuke looked at himself in the mirror as she spoke. She continued to talk. What do you suppose it means? I don't know, Sasuke said. There was silence on the other side for a moment. Quick and concise as always. I'm glad at least one thing didn't change. We need to meet up. Do you suppose that we're the only ones this happened to? Sasuke shrugged. Only one way to find out. Sasuke would get together his regular day clothes and head out to the academy. As it turned out, this was the last time for all of them. This was their graduation exam. Getting to the school, Sasuke covered his Rinnegan in an effort to hide that he had it. Until he could figure out what was going on here, it was safest to remain cautious. There he saw Sakura sitting. She looked over at him for a second, cracked a forced smile, and then returned her gaze outward. As Sasuke walked around, he tried to signal any other possible students by asking Sakura a rather loud question when he sat down. I forget, was the last Shinobi World War the 3rd or the 4th? Sakura looked over at him. I think you and I both know that answer. They sat and looked around cautiously to see if anyone else had caught onto the statement. It didn't seem to be the case. It seemed to have flown over everyone's heads, which meant that they were the only ones in this room who had any memories from the past. Or, I suppose, the future. I guess it was localized to only you and I, Sasuke said. Sakura nodded. What do you think happened? Sasuke shrugged. No clue. Possibly a jutsu? Possibly something else. I don't see the advantage of sending us back in time like this unless it's to destroy us, but even then, we still have all of our abilities. He reached out and tapped the strength of 100 seal on Sakura's forehead. Sakura laughed. I forgot how big my forehead used to feel at this age, and now with this seal on it, it just stands out all the more. Sasuke couldn't help but smile. Don't be like that. I find it kinda cute. He gave her a kiss. Some of the other girls in the class, Ino included, were shocked by this. An audible gasp could be heard from every female in the room. Sasuke and Sakura looked around. I was really popular, wasn't I? He said. Sakura giggled. You don't know the half of it. At about that time, Naruto walked into the room. He looked around the class, seemed not so much his chipper self. That wasn't too uncommon for Naruto back in the old days, as Sasuke recalled. Naruto's eyes scanned the area. Seeing Sasuke and Sakura, he began to walk toward their desk and sit down with them. Silence ensued for a little longer. Sasuke then spoke. How are you doing, Naruto? Still looking to become 5th Hokage, he asked. Hokage? Yes. 5th? No. I'm thinking I'll only be ready when position for 7th arrives. So you are you too, Sasuke said. Naruto let out a sigh. I was beginning to think Kurama and I were here alone. Sakura shook her head. No, all 3 of us seem to recall everything. I kinda figured it out when I saw that mark on your forehead, Naruto said. You noticed it from that far away? Sakura asked. How could I not? People would pay to advertise on that billboard you got there. Hey, Sakura said as she reached around Sasuke and punched Naruto on the shoulder. Naruto giggled a bit about it when she did, coaxing a smile. So, anyone else time travelers here? Naruto asked Sasuke. Sasuke shook his head. No, I made a passing remark about the Fourth Great Ninja War and nobody seemed to react, so I assume we're alone. Naruto looked around. What happened? And why? Sasuke shrugged. No clue. Could be a natural phenomenon, could be a jutsu placed by someone. Elsewhere in a distant laboratory, Fu sneezed. Sasuke let out a frustrated sigh. If this is a trap, then I see nothing for us to do but walk into it. We may be smaller, but it doesn't seem like we've lost any real power. So if they're waiting for us somewhere down the line, we'll be ready. But what if they simply want us out of the way so they can conquer our future, Naruto asks. I don't know if time works like that, Sakura said. Even if that is true, Sasuke tagged on, we've got powerful friends in the future who can handle the situation without us. Boruto and Sarada both have incredible strength and potential, and if they take their training seriously, they'll surpass everything we ever were. It was then that the feeling between the three became a little heavier. Boruto, Naruto said as his head hit the table. Sarada, Sakura whispered as she looked like she might start crying. Sasuke himself was sad, but he couldn't let it get him down. Regardless, we'll have to see this through to the end if nothing changes. So long as we stick together, everything will be fine. With plenty on their mind, they go through with the exams. As Naruto comes up and is asked to make a clone, he makes about 12 shadow clones. He then notices that one of the proctors is Mizuki. In anger, one of his clones rushes over and beats the man silly. Iruka pulls the clone off of him as the guards stand, ready to arrest Naruto. What's wrong with you, Iruka demands to know. That man right there tried to coerce me into stealing the Scroll of Seals. Orochimaru wanted it, and he was going to defect and give it to him, and worse yet, he was going to use me to steal it and then pin the blame on me. Iruka and the guards look at Mizuki, who declares this preposterous. Naruto refutes this. I remember it. You got evidence tying you to Orochimaru in your apartment. Thought you could get away with stealing from the village and betraying it. I ought to beat you again. Sasuke is seen shaking his head at this point and covering his face as Sakura watches on. Well, this is pretty much what happened, right? Sasuke said. I was kinda hoping we would lay low, but I guess not. Needless to say, Naruto's words were true. Mizuki's apartment was investigated and everything Naruto said was substantiated, resulting in Mizuki being arrested. Naruto, Sakura, and Sasuke would all pass. After becoming genin, the day after they'd have their pictures taken and were officially registered. There, Naruto would witness Konohamaru attempt to assassinate his own grandfather in the most pathetic way possible. Naruto laughed, much to Konohamaru's chagrin. Naruto knew he would appreciate it, but what could he do? He forgot how absolutely adorable Konohamaru used to be. For old time's sake, he taught Konohamaru the sexy jutsu. He couldn't even imagine a world where he and Konohamaru wouldn't grow to be friends, so he began teaching the boy the most perverted of all his Tosaku jutsu. The adult in him thought it was a bad idea, but at the same time he knew that it was from this strange base that Konohamaru had grown into the dependable man he was before. Sometimes it was just a necessary evil to let a boy be a boy. After all, it was a boy that became a man, and the man Naruto knew he'd become would be well-balanced, a bit odd, and capable of thinking outside of the box, which was something Naruto knew Konohamaru would not be able to learn from Ebisu. As Naruto seemed to more easily slide back into his childhood, Sasuke and Sakura couldn't help but be who they had been prior. Sakura had been verbally assaulted by the other girls in her class, putting her down and questioning Sasuke's tastes in women if he chose her. Normally, if Sakura had really been the person she used to be, she would have flipped out about it. But here she couldn't help but laugh at how childish the other girls really were at this time. Let them make fun of her forehead. In the years Sakura had it, she had came to love it. And since Sasuke seemed to love it, she wouldn't trade it for any forehead in the whole world. Sasuke was still using his right hand to write and do, well, anything. Even when he ate, he was still using his right hand. He let his left hand dangle most days. You're still not used to using your left arm again, she asked. Sasuke didn't notice that he'd been neglecting it. He simply couldn't easily adapt to this body. Naruto seemed to have done so very easily, but then again, he always had a synthetic arm after he lost the original, so for Naruto, this wasn't a very big step. For Sasuke, it was. In a way, this is a blessing. We get the chance to do everything over again. We could change whatever we want. That may be so, Sasuke said, but that doesn't mean we should. Why not? Sakura asked. Because we don't know the consequences of doing so. A butterfly effect does exist, and our existing in this world alone is enough to alter time in all sorts of different ways, Sakura said. Sasuke nodded. Yes, that's true, but we still have a responsibility to limit the damage we do. We don't know how our actions can change the world. It could be positive though, Sakura said. Or it could be negative. Sakura took his hand in both of hers to reassure him. Or it could be positive. Sasuke shook his head as if casting the idea aside. Imagine how many wars we could cause by changing things. If the Fourth Shinobi World War doesn't occur, then neither will world peace. You don't know that, Sakura said. The entire world came together to stop the moon from falling. And imagine how many children will wake up in a happy household instead of an orphanage because their parents never had to go to war. Imagine how many new lives will be born because star-crossed lovers never perished prematurely before meeting their one and only. Sasuke thought about what she was saying. She continued, Sasuke, this could be a gift, a chance to make the world better, to undo our mistakes and forge a better path forward. Kneeling down, she wiped some of the rice from the corner of Sasuke's mouth. In the years he had known her, his feelings for her had only become stronger. As their lips touched, it was as if the stars aligned. It was a perfect moment. Ew, a young voice shouted, killing the moment. From a nearby bush, Naruto was struggling to cover Konohamaru's mouth. Sasuke and Sakura looked over at them. I promise we weren't spying, we were just... Naruto struggled to come up with an excuse. Okay, we were spying. Konohamaru managed to rip Naruto's hand from his face. Sasuke and Sakura sitting in a tree. K-I-S-S-I... Naruto covered his mouth again. I think we'll give you guys some privacy. Too late, Naruto. Moment's gone, Sasuke said as he sat there and contemplated if he should try to retrain his mind to favor his left hand again. Might be a challenge, might take some time, but considering his age and the events he already knew were coming, he had all the time in the world. The day after came, and they were sitting in a classroom at the academy, waiting for the Jonin to show up. It'll probably be Kakashi, Naruto said. I hope it's Kakashi, Sasuke said as he sat there. Wait, do you think there's a chance it won't be Kakashi, Sakura asked? Sasuke looked over. There's always a chance things won't be the same as they were before. That's what the butterfly effect does. Simply by us existing the way we are now and when we're not supposed to, we may affect fate in some weird upper dimensional way. Could lead to anyone. That being said, I still want Kakashi. And Kakashi you will have, another voice said as he entered the room. They looked over to see him. Kakashi-sensei, Naruto and Sakura shouted in happiness. Sasuke covered his face in shame. There was no such thing as subtlety with this group. That being said, as he looked through his fingers, Kakashi spoke. So, I'm glad I'm not the only one playing Quantum Leap. You knew? Sasuke asked. Kakashi nodded. I've been looking around the past couple days, trying to figure out if I was alone in this time warp. The moment I heard Naruto got Mizuki captured early, I realized that things had changed. I wasn't sure if it was just a butterfly effect or if it was that I wasn't alone. But the moment I saw you and Sakura kiss, I sort of assumed that the sweet lovebirds I knew from 20 years ahead were likely the same. I sort of just now received full confirmation, not only because I heard you guys talking about me before I entered the room, but because I saw that Rinnegan you're trying and failing to hide, mixed with that seal on Sakura's definitely normal-sized forehead. Naruto began to laugh. Even Kakashi thinks your forehead's ginormous. Wait, others can see my Rinnegan? Sasuke asked. Kakashi nodded. Your hair at this age wasn't properly suited to cover that thing, so it's not doing too well at the job. Just be glad that nobody in Konoha really knows what it is. They just think it's a strange birth defect in your Sharingan. They seem convinced that it's weaker than a normal one, so if you keep it on the DL, you might get away with it for a little while. At least until your hair grows out enough to cover it. Then everyone should forget. Sasuke sat back in his seat. So, Kakashi-sensei, what do you think we should do? What do you mean? Kakashi asked. Should we just go and blindly alter everything that we want? Or just stick to the script and ensure the future we had before is the one we get again? Kakashi let out a chuckle. Almost sounds like you want one over the other, Kakashi said. The way you phrased it, that is. Blindly change things or try to do the same thing we know worked. Sasuke then spoke. Yes, I do have a bias to one of those. Kakashi nodded. I'm sure you do, but I think we both know that for us to all stick to the script would be near impossible with a certain hyperactive knucklehead ninja over here. Naruto looked over. Yeah, Sakura would have a hard time sticking to the plan. Kakashi then continued. This isn't just one person's future we're discussing, Sasuke. And while you make a good point that the future we had was great, we are presented with a golden opportunity here. A chance to save lives we once thought were lost. A chance to undo some damage done. Are you going to tell me that if you had a chance to go back, you wouldn't have stopped yourself from attempting to destroy Konoha? Are you telling me that you have the grit and willpower to commit murder again without reason? Sasuke looked down. Kakashi then spoke. I think we can all agree that with the knowledge we have, we are meant to change things. I don't know how or by who we were given this chance to do things over again, but I believe the intent is for us to use it to our advantage. And how do we know that doing such a thing isn't going to help whatever force did this to us? If this is a person who sent us back here, how do we know that our benefactor isn't malevolent? How do you know he is? Kakashi asked. While it's true that we ought to be careful with how we move forward, I should state one thing. I possess the Mangekyo Sharingan again, which I didn't have when I was transported back. You possess the Rinnegan that you did have. Sakura possesses her seal, and I assume that includes all the knowledge with how to use it, and I assume Naruto possesses everything." Naruto nodded. "Kurama's still in me, and he's very cooperative. I even seem to have access to Six-Path Sage Mode." Kakashi nodded. "Whoever teleported us back to this time period wanted to make us as strong as possible. For all we know, changing the past could save the future. Our actions here could lead to a better tomorrow. So let's decide not to see the glass as half empty, just on a show of faith. After all, it's time that something good finally came our way, wouldn't you agree?" Naruto was all for the idea. Sakura had mostly been on board with it the whole time, but she sat there and deferred to Sasuke. "What do you think, Sasuke? We could do a lot. We might even be able to save your brother." Sasuke thought about it. "If you're sure that we're not going to doom ourselves." Kakashi shrugged. "Any actions we could have taken in the future could have doomed us. I say we take it in stride. If this does cause an issue at some point, we'll face it head on like any other crisis. It's better to have tried and failed than to have never tried at all." Sasuke let out a sigh. "All right, I'm game. What's the first thing we do?" Kakashi thought about it. "We should still stick to the script, as in the end that leads us to a proper ending that we like. But along the way, let's make a couple edits. Let's make some decisions ourselves based on what we want." And so that's what they decided to do. They decided that they would start off by requesting the Land of Waves mission. While this mission wasn't that impressive in terms of anything beyond character development for Naruto and Sasuke, both of which would display ample growth in their power, it did mark the deaths of Haku and Zabuza. This was when Team 7 would need to make the decision of if they were going to kill these two. As they walked to the village from which Tazuna hailed, they kept the conversation fairly quiet. They didn't want to freak Tazuna out or let slip that they were knowledgeable of the future. But that being said, Kakashi himself was far stronger now than he had been previously, meaning when the Demon Brothers and Zabuza both showed up, he floored them both. There was nothing really for him to do besides that. Of course, Haku would come and collect Zabuza and escape him, and Kakashi let them go. But as they got to the home where Tazuna lived, he called a quick meeting. "So, let's see. Should we let Zabuza and Haku live?" Kakashi asked. Sasuke was a resounding no, and Naruto was the exact opposite. Kakashi began to listen to both of their arguments. Sasuke's argument was that both of them were mercenary killers and would continue to kill for money so long as they were allowed to live. However, Naruto was of the mind that Haku and Zabuza weren't all that evil, and it was evident that the two of them really cared for each other. Naruto made mention to Kakashi that Zabuza, though the obvious master between the two of them, would listen to Haku, and Haku himself could be convinced if he was given the courage to stand up to Zabuza. If Naruto could convince Haku to develop enough confidence to tell Zabuza what he thought, then maybe they could both be convinced not only to stop their evil ways, but maybe even to join them. "After all," Naruto said, "is this entire thing we're doing not about saving lives and making allies out of enemies?" Kakashi thought about it. Sasuke still disagreed. "What do you think, Sakura?" Kakashi asked. Sakura gave it some thought. She looked at Naruto and then to Sasuke before back to Kakashi. "Both of them make very good points. I don't know how to choose. What do you think, Kakashi-sensei?" Kakashi thought about it. "How about this? I'll make a deal with you. If Naruto can convince Haku and Zabuza to forego their mercenary ways, then we'll spare them. But if they continue terrorizing people and refuse to listen to reason, then we'll go with Sasuke's idea. Given that we have a second chance, it's only right that we offer the same to them. We need to see if they can change, and if so, then we'll let them live. But if they continue down this path, then the only thing waiting for them is death. Does that sound like a fair idea?" Sasuke gave a nod of approval as Naruto declared that he would stop them from dying. Sakura smiled. "Whatever the outcome, I promise to do my best." Kakashi smiled. "Alright then, let's get into it." As they went about their time, Naruto would take it upon himself to talk with Inari about everything before remembering where he first met Haku. This gave Kakashi time to think about things. He recalled how Naruto always had been the heart of their team, and though he'd been annoying to some capacity in his younger years, it was his never-give-up attitude and his desire to protect and care for others that made him the truly superior shinobi. Naruto had picked a fight with the entire world system and had somehow come out on top. Kakashi had no doubt that Naruto could do this again. If it were possible to change Haku's mind, Naruto would do so. As Naruto walked out into the forest, he found a nice place beneath a tree and decided to sleep there. When he did so, he never noticed the time passing until a particular curious hand woke him. He opened his eyes with a smile. Oh, hello." The boy would smile at Naruto. "Hello, what are you doing out here?" Naruto sat up and rubbed his eyes with a yawn. I guess I was sleeping. Not the best behavior for a shinobi, but sometimes the best thing you can do is sleep. It's a very important part of building your strength. Haku nodded. I'm sure it is. Naruto sat there against the tree. You know what else is important to being a shinobi? What's that? Haku asked as he continued to pick flowers. Being honest. That doesn't really sound like an important part, Haku said with a slight chuckle. I don't exactly mean to the world. I mean to oneself. Haku was silent for a moment as Naruto continued. Haku, you need to be honest with yourself. A chill ran down Haku's spine. Haku, I think you're mistaken. Naruto shook his head. No mask can hide who you really are. At that moment, Haku pulled out a senbon that he'd been keeping hidden. He went straight to shove it into Naruto's eye, but before it could pierce the orb, Naruto caught it between two fingers. You should have just kept your mouth shut, Haku shouted as he applied all of his body weight behind the weapon. It still wasn't enough to push it in, though. Naruto flicked his wrist, knocking the senbon away. Naruto caught both of Haku's wrists in his grasp. You've been living your whole life behind a mask of some sort, haven't you? Haku was starting to grow terrified. Naruto spoke. As a child, you had a Kekai Genkai that your mother told you to hide for fear it would get you hurt. In the end, it did. It left you orphaned. Haku's eyes began to grow wider. That rabbit I saw earlier, it had your chakra attached to it. I assume it was your pet? Rabbits are extraordinarily hard to catch and turn into pets. It takes someone with an unnaturally kind, compassionate, and patient heart to do so. So why do you let Zabuza force you to kill? Haku tried to pull away, but Naruto's strength was unnaturally high for someone his age. Despite Haku being far older than this boy, his strength almost seemed to match that of Zabuza's. Haku, are you also trying to tame Zabuza? Haku stopped struggling when Naruto said that. Naruto smiled. Zabuza seeks a warrior, so just as before, you put on a mask. A new one. But just like the old one, it hides who you truly are deep down. But you do it because you believe you can pacify Zabuza, don't you? Haku sits down. How do you know these things? Naruto looks down and away. Imagine for a moment that I'm a fortune teller, and you're my client. Reading your palms, pulling the tarot. I just pulled your card, and it's death. The following two cards are the lovers and the devil. Does this tell you what your future is? Haku's face turned pale as a sheet. Naruto continued. I know you seek to pacify Zabuza, but you can't. Not the same way you pacified that rabbit. That rabbit was timid. Care and patience won out, but Zabuza isn't that way. You're not training him, he's training you. You need to get rough, or it's a guarantee that the two of you will die. He'll get in way over his head one day, very soon, and because of that, you'll sacrifice your life for him. I'd do it in a heartbeat. He's the closest thing to a true father that I have. Naruto's eyes showed compassion. I know. I don't condemn that, nor do I condemn your actions. You're part of an unforgiving world, and in this world, love is hard to foster and protect. Trust me, I know. But sometimes love comes in many different packages. One of the most potent forms of love I've seen, that I've ever experienced, is the kind that comes in the form of punishment. Rebuking. The one who can tell someone no is the one who loves them the most, because true love doesn't care if it's loved back. True love doesn't care if someone else thinks highly of them. True love is to do what's best for that person whether they like it or not. My story isn't one you could ever digest, but I can promise you, I know what I'm talking about. I could have come to you today with love and caring and telling you everything will be okay and that love will win the day if you only believe, but I won't do that because love won't. I'm warning you now of impending doom. Not only you, but Zabuza will soon die. And the way I know that is the way I knew all along your true name and your past. Are you truly a fortune teller? He asked. Fortune teller? If that helps you understand where I got this information from, then yes. Just know this. Zabuza has a free will, and so do you, but you can't enable him to do as he pleases. He's self-destructive and will get you killed, and then will die beside you. If you love him, then he doesn't need a meat shield. He needs someone to tell him no. Stand up to him. Take your mask off and bare your true face to him. Give him every ounce of your feelings. Today is the last chance for you to do so. Fail, and he will die. That I swear to you, on the lives of the children I left behind. Haku listened to what Naruto said with terror in his eyes. Pulling away, he stood and grabbed his flower basket. He looked at Naruto as if he were crazy and then ran away. Naruto sat there for a moment longer, thinking, hoping, praying that Haku would make the right decision. Naruto and the rest of Team 7 would be waiting at the bridge. Do you think it worked? Kakashi asked Naruto. I guess all we can do is wait and see, Naruto said. As time passed, nobody showed up. More time passed and both Zabuza and Haku failed to appear. Gato's men finally arrived. With a simple use of the Shadow Clone Jutsu, Team 7 scared everyone away. Sakura came up to Naruto, who stood on the edge of the bridge looking out over the water. "What did you say to Haku that convinced him to change his ways?" Naruto looked back with a smile. "I simply told him it was time to take the mask off." With the bridge completed, Team 7 was free to return to Konoha. There, they'd be allowed to sign up for the Chunin exams. As Naruto stood on the balcony of his apartment, he couldn't help but think about Zabuza and Haku. With a smile, he took in a deep breath and let it out. Perhaps he could change things for the better. They all could, and Naruto was happy to try. And that's where I want to call it for the day. I hope you all enjoyed it. Be sure to comment below about your favorite part and other characters you might like to see get the same treatment. Don't forget to ring the bell to be notified when more content drops, and while you wait, check out these other great videos from the channel. Anyway, until next time, peace out.